For those of you just joining me here, I just woke up because it's like just a little before 9 a.m. my time. And I played all yesterday. But we are doing coverage here of uh, Star Wars World Championships. We're in the middle of the third heat. So day one's broken up into 4 heats to give the players a bunch of different times that they can play at. I played at 8 a.m. my time yesterday instead of 2 a.m. my time yesterday or 5 a.m. today. Um, there's another heat happening later today, which also would have been fun. But this heat started a couple hours ago, so we're into we're into game 3, um, and we are going to be covering a match between Eric, whose last name I am not going to attempt, sorry, and Bill Kafer, Taco Bill. They are both 1-1. They've actually already started. So let's just jump into it right now. Okay. So we've got Bill on Watch Your Step and Eric on a Bespin CRV deck, Combat Readiness deck. So no objective for Eric. He's started security precautions for some extra activation. And we have Quad Drive Yards V to get a system, alert my Star Destroyer for Star Destroyers, presumably. And we're in the middle of turn 1 here. Eric has used Quad Drive Yards to deploy Mustafar's system, and has used Mustafar itself to pull the Mustafar Vader's Castle from reserve deck. So his activation is all set up. I would guess if he's playing an Alert Your Star Destroyer deck, he probably has at least one more system in there. Kashyyyk would be the one that would immediately jump to mind as a site where he can, or a system where he can drain for 2, but not give up too many icons. But he's just going to draw up. He's up to 13. Not saving anything for Bill's turn. Bill, meanwhile, has started Walkling for the activation, squadron assignments to match pilots and ships, and then Insurrection and Aim High. So with the new cards from set 13, Insurrection and Aim High, I think has been more and more common in Watch Your Step, and so partly because it does give good activation. You pull there's 2 1-0 docking bays that you get with it, and then the other side of it is with Chewbacca V from set 13, which I presume we'll see at some point in here, giving you a third ability to Rebel to get a forfeit bonus from Insurrection. That gives that plus Wedge Antilles V plus Theron Net boost. So with those 3 guys, you can get a lot of forfeit onto ships in Watch Your Step really quickly, or on the ground, I guess, if you want to do that. But that's certainly much more vulnerable, and certainly Wedge at least is a much better pilot. So all of that together makes this a pretty good starting effect. Choosing the combo version probably just to save a shield pull, because the non-combo would give you an extra forfeit, although the difference between 9 and 10 is probably not that big. So for Bill's turn, he pulled the Hoth docking bay with the Insurrection. He took Kessel into hand from his objective. Kessel V, the new one. And then he played the home 1 docking bay from his hand, and he drew a bunch of cards. And now he's played... he's the best smuggler around a new card from set 13 to take Captain Lando Calrissian into hand from his reserve. Captain Lando. Captain Lando is a pretty powerful card from the new set. Just there's a lot of very good Destiny 4 interrupts to swap with for this deck. I mean, Punch It, moving to attack position are both great. If you're setting up on the ground, Blast the Door Kit is great. Fallen Portal's great. So there's a lot of good options. And then, of course, this other text, we'll see if he's running Kessel Run itself. Kessel Run V is quite popular and rather powerful, so I would not be surprised if he was. But one of the nice things about Watch Your Step is it's not mandatory that you play it a certain way. There's a couple different variations that are possible. I think the Kessel Run is the best one for my wager. That would be what I would say, but we will see if Bill's in agreement on that. Eric, meanwhile, did pull the Kashyyyk system with quadriviates for his other system. So presumably that would be it for his activation. There's a small possibility he has a fourth system, particularly because it looks like the kind of deck he is playing, from what I've seen of this style of deck, would not have any battleground sites in it. So he would be doing all of his damage in space. So for that reason, he may want another system. As to what system that would be, I'm really not sure. Nothing jumps to mind immediately. Endor is actually fine and a pretty good choice in the metagame if he's playing things like Tarkin's Orders to cancel drains at related sites, because the Hitco, he is the Chosen One deck, has been really popular this weekend so far. And so having the related Endor system to be able to cancel drains at the Endor site could be really good. So he plays the do they have a code clearance effect rather than the shield? Big difference with the effect is you get the ability 3. Imperials get a big forfeit bonus. So Eric's going to be playing a whole lot of characters that have like forfeit 9 as pilots in space. So between that and the insurrection, there's going to be a lot of forfeit fodder on the ships here. So Bill played his Corellia V, the good one, and Kessel system from hand. Presumably he's ready to go for it now this turn, because the Kessel system you really want to hold until you're ready to go to it, since it gives 2 icons to your opponent and is basically only good for you because there's a drain bonus and Kessel Run. Okay, so Bill gets going here. So he plays the Millennium Falcon and Han Solo from hand, which is not really what he wanted, because he's got this Squadron Assignments card that he could have pulled one of them from his deck, but that's not how it worked out, so that's where we are. And he's added Elor's Matic, which will protect him from lateral damage, and add some additional hyperspeed. This thing is like hyperspeed 1,000,008. Yeah, so you can get basically everywhere at once. And then he's going to start Kessel running. So Kessel Run V, he has to draw destinies until he gets to more than 12, which he hasn't done yet. He's at 5 cards. Okay, I think now he's at 12. Now he's at 16. Oh, he got to exactly 12 on 4 cards. That's unfortunate. So then, as long as his smuggler can stay at the Kessel system, he'll pull a card off of there, put it back to his used pile every other, or every move phase. And then, once they are all removed, then he'll get to retrieve 4 force. He'll place the Kessel Run he gets the Kessel Run itself out of play, so he can't get that back. He can play additional copies of Kessel Run, which I would expect he probably has. But yeah, you can't. He won't be able to actually loop the single Kessel Run for a lot of retrieval. However, since Kessel Run is not an Utini effect, code clearance does not interact with it. So big reason why Kessel Run V is playable and Kessel Run non-V was really not. All right, so he plays Melis to the Cantina to secure the ground in a very loose sense. A little awkward, especially since Chewbacca is on the Kessel Run, because Chewbacca can deploy as a react, so there's a little bit of flexibility there, a little bit of window to to be able to do some stuff. But while he's on Kessel Run, probably he's not playing 2. So can't really do that. Now, of course, Watch Your Step, though, a deck that is absolutely full of tricks, because the whole point of this objective is that once you're on the 0 side now, or once you're on the 7 side, rather, of the objective, once you flipped it, he can play an interrupt from Lost Pile as if from hand once a turn. Now, obviously, right now, not going to do anything because he has just the heading for the Medical Frigate, but it does mean he'll be able to recur his interrupts. Okay, so now we're on to Eric's turn. Eric lost a little bit of activation because this 2-0 Cloud City Security Tower is only generating 1 now because the objective limits non-battleground generations to 1. But still 14. There's still plenty of battlegrounds. Eric was able to find the They Must Never Again Leave This City so that he can play a free Executor, which he is going to do now through Alert My Star Destroyer, pulling that and Admiral Piet. This is a combination that we saw a fair bit from the Alien Dark Deal decks, or a lot of the Dark Deal decks, right when Slip Sliding Away, the starting interrupt, came out. Be able to play an Executor on turn 1 a lot of times if you've found the free effect really quickly. Because you just start Endor Shield, pull Admiral Piet, and then match Piet and Executor for free for Executor, and then 1 for Piet. I guess it's probably 2 because they have the Goldenrod Shield. So, all right, and then Eric's going to add the Stalker at Kessel against Han and Elor's Matic. Now, Han and Elor's Matic are drawing 2 Destinies because they have sufficient ability for 1, and then with 2 Smugglers, they get to draw 2. They get to draw an additional Battle Destiny. My concern here, and the reason that I feel like, the reason that I suspect Eric felt confident in a deck like this, is because even with 2 Destinies, it's tough for the Millennium Falcon to go up against a Star Destroyer. If we see the Executor come over to Kessel to back up, we'll be facing 28 power against 8. Even with 2 Destinies, you're not going to get to 20. So Lightsid's going to end up losing some there. Even this battle by itself, like, this would almost certainly kill the Stalker, but well, actually no, this battle by itself is probably really bad. So I don't expect that Eric's going to battle here unless he has like a Grand Admiral Thrawn or something, some character to change the dynamic. Although since Merrick Steele went over here, I would guess that probably the Executor is just going to fly over to Kessel. Well, that's not going to do what you want, because he plays lateral damage on the Millennium Falcon, which then gets immediately canceled by Elor's Matic, because that's what Elor's Matic does. So yeah, if that was the plan, that wasn't great. Okay, and then the Executor will fly over, so now we are at the 28-8. Now, the risky part of this play for Eric, of course, is that Bill has his full hand, and with the squadron assignments, he very likely, in fact, I would say almost guaranteed, has some additional ships. Not even almost. He definitely has other ships. There's Outrider and Pulsar Skate. I'd say 95% of the time both of them will be in there. And then there's a possibility of Red 5 with Luke, or an R2 in Red 5 with Luke. And potentially even like the wild card is a possibility. So there's a lot of space backup, especially in a build like this that's running the Insurrection. Because a lot of Watch Your Step builds that are trying to do more stuff on the ground will have something like the Pharmaphobe, something like I Must Be Allowed to Speak, so that they can get another battleground site out, get some reward for playing like Jedi Luke to the ground and stuff like that. Because he's playing Insurrection, my inclination is to say that Taco Bell's not doing that with this. And putting Melis by themselves, I don't know, at the cantina represents trying to do minimal ground. And because Melis is a pretty safe character to have put on the ground just as your soul one, because you're not lose too much in space from Melis not being in space. Because the only thing Melis does in space is it prevents your opponent from cloaking, which only applies to Darth Maul and Maul Sith Infiltrator, which is unlikely to be in Eric's deck. So anyway, what I was saying is the risk of this here is that there's potential for some good backup to show up here for Taco Bell. Eric doesn't have a Carnal Wolf Yularen here and doesn't have enough force back to play one with I Can't Shake Him V. So he'd be facing down. So it's potential that you could get Dash in the Outrider to reduce power, potentially by a lot if you can add another good pilot to the Outrider. And the smugglers are largely all very good pilots, so that's definitely a possibility. If he's playing like Luke in Red 5, if he's playing Luke Rebellion's Hope, the attack pilot Luke, he could be adding a Destiny to Attrition, which on top of the 2 Destinies from Millennium Falcon would maybe be enough to crack the Executor. So there's some real risk to. Well, so there is some risk to what Eric has done here, and I think the plan was kind of revolving around that lateral damage. So, yeah, Eric not realizing that Bill had played the Ellersmatic as the lateral damage cancer already is potentially a big problem. Because the other thing too is that all that Bill really needs to do, as far as this goes, is hold Kessel long enough to complete the Kessel run, which he'll be able to do next move phase. As long as he can keep everybody on the table this move phase, or through his opponent's battle next turn, he'll be able to pull a card. So he'll pull a card off of Kessel run this turn with just his normal move phase. He can pull one off during his opponent's move phase and then use Han to take the last one off immediately. So he'll be able to complete it next turn, provided he doesn't get blown out in space. So that's got to be what Bill's hoping to do. And so he didn't do that though. There was no battle happen there. So that's unfortunate. Because that would mean that Bill didn't have any space to deploy, which is certainly possible. I mean, you might not have a match, or you might have activated the match and all that stuff. He did verify his reserve with the insurrection. But he's just going to run away then after he pulls a card off of Kessel Run. That can't really be what he wanted. Meanwhile, Eric did play Cold Feet at one point in there to pull the Useless Gesture V, the anti-Watcher Step Shield. Although, interestingly, this might have been a time to pull Useless Gesture Non-V. Because Useless Gesture Non-V causes your opponent's interrupts that go to lost to be placed out of play. Although he didn't have 4 smugglers in play, so actually, no, that would have been bad. No battle plan. That might have been an oversight. So Bill just gets a drain for free at Kessel, although it's only a drain of 1, so not a huge deal. It still seems likely that Bill's going to be the one to pull battle plan, because a deck that's set up in the way that Eric's is seems unlikely to have much, if any, ground. Should note that to the drain of 2, Eric lost a second copy of the Executor effect and then a 9th Sister from his reserve. Ninth Sister's a real good card against Watch Your Step, because they don't have that many characters of ability greater than 3, And resetting their total battle distance to 0 is certainly a good way to combat drawing multiples, although Imperial Justice is also a good way. So we've put Admiral Osel V, the Emperor, and Arica on Imperial Justice. So those are all pretty good cards. Eric's probably going to want to get into some battles here. He does have the Death Star Reactor Terminal to be able to play devices from his reserve deck, but also take cards into hand from his force pile during his not draw phase. Before his draw phase, I should say. Homing Beacon will allow his starships to follow the Millennium Falcon around. Okay, so we got Colonel Wolf Yularen. So that's the guy I was talking about. That's going to limit, particularly stop the power of the ship from being reduced. So Dash and the Outrider won't be able to reduce the power of the Stalker, although it only works on the starship he's on. So they could reduce the power of the Executor. So something to consider, I suppose. Other thing is Homing Beacon. I'd be a little cautious about using Homing Beacon because my recollection is I think there's a bug associated with it. Hope not. We'll see. The bug I think being that it doesn't work, that you can't actually follow. We'll find out, I guess, if that happens. So the Stalker, well, I guess we won't because the Stalker can follow regardless. All right, so the Stalker is coming over. Interesting that he would do that, actually. Okay, anyway, Stalker's coming over here to Bespin to oppose the Millennium Falcon, where they will have to then spend one more force to move away from Bespin. The Executor, meanwhile, will go to Tatooine. Presumably there will be a Tarkin's Orders happening on one of these drains. Takaba, meanwhile, plays Control Tunnel Vision, which then gets grabbed by Eric's regular grabber. That's actually a pretty reasonable play. Control Tunnel Vision is one of the most powerful parts of Watch Your Step. Being able to either cancel drains or be able to pull cards from your force pile at will, and then it being a lost interrupt isn't much of a cost because Watch Your Step can just play it from lost again. Yeah, that's a pretty reasonable grab. I don't hate that. So Bill's gonna take a card from his force pile. Stalker's. So Stalker's follow is not a react. It was a react to this location. Okay. Okay. Eric loses a sense from hand, which makes sense since you can't play sense anymore once Watch Your Step is flipped. And yeah, there's the Tarkin's Orders. I feel like I would grab that, but maybe not. I guess grabbing Imperial Command is probably the interrupt actually that Bill's most concerned with Eric being able to play repeatedly. All right, so we're going to verify those 6 cards. Or rather, the 2 players are going to verify them. I don't get to see what they are. All right, and then we do have a squadron assignment match. So it's going to be the Outrider with presumably Dash, although it could be Lebo. Lebo's actually a card that I've seen get played in these Watch Your Step decks with Kelso Run, because once you complete the Kelso Run, you can just park Lebo somewhere. Hey, it's Lebo. So once you complete the Kelso Run, you can just park Lebo somewhere and he'll just cause your opponent to lose a force every turn. So Lebo can be battled, so he's not a completely free option here. He does get to draw a Battle Destiny on the Outrider. And the Outrider does get to be attrition less than 4 while Leebo's piloting, so it's not completely naked there. And then we got Red 5 and Luke, the Rebellion, so that's Battle Luke, Battle Pilot Luke, deploying to Mustafar. So we're spreading out in space, presenting a couple of different drains, a couple of different threats. Now Eric can reduce this drain if he can get Vader onto the table. Because there's definitely no possibility that Amidala is going to be at a Mustafar location. That's certainly not a thing that's going to happen. Why did that move for free? It should have been a force expenditure, right? Why was that 4 force to move away? +1. I'm trying to figure out why Taco Bell had to use 4 force to move the Millennium Falcon from Bespin to Kessel. You got me. I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. But he is going to complete the Kessel run because Han Solo and what we described before. He's actually presumably not going to pay for this 4 force retrieval since he only has 2 cards in his lost pile. However, now that the Kessel run is completed, a number of things happen. So Lando is completely safe to just hold this location by himself because if he gets attacked, he can just return Lando to his hand since the Kessel run's been completed. Han, since he's piloting the Millennium Falcon and the Kessel run's completed, adds a battle destiny. Leebo, as we discussed before, will start causing force loss every turn. And then the card that he left on Kessel Run was Chewie, which he took into hand with Han Solo. Chewie can deploy as a react for two to Han's location. And when he does that, or rather, once he's on the table, Eric's force retrieval will be completely canceled forever. Well, as long as Chewie's on the table. So a lot of powerful things happening in this deck now that a Kessel run's been completed. There's also the side possibility that if Taco Bell can complete a second Kessel run, that he'll be able to keep the objective flipped regardless of how many locations he occupies. That seems less likely to be relevant here, since it doesn't seem likely that Eric actually has much, if any, ground to attack with. So clearing both of these guys off the ground and all the stuff off of space doesn't really seem likely. Eric did drain for 2 at Tatooine, which Taco Bell lost a copy of He's the Best Smuggler Around, and Leslomi to Kema from his hand. Both of those pretty reasonable. Leslomi mostly pulls Eller's Matic. I mean, she's a fine pilot, actually, so, but acceptable losses. He still has 10 in hand. And then Eric's adding the Chimera over here to the Stalker. The Chimera normally matches with Thrawn, but in this case is matching with Pelan, who does deploy free there. So the Chimera should have only cost 8. Yeah. Because Thrawn's still here. There he is. Whoop. Hate when it does that. And then he's adding 3 as a pilot, but all this other text doesn't actually apply here because it only works while he's aboard the Chimera with Thrawn or other Imperials aboard his same capital starship. He is forfeit 8, and if he were on the Stalker instead of the Chimera, like Krennic could be forfeit 10 and stuff. So although that's cool. All right, so we got a battle. Chewie reacted. Imperial Command limited to 2 destiny, or to 1 destiny instead of the 3 he was going to get, because it was 2 with it was 1 from ability, the second one from the objective, and the third one from Han. Lightside is going to play moving to attack positions, so the Millennium Falcon will be ability plus or be power plus 2 rather, and immune to attrition. It can't move this turn, but that's fine. It wasn't going to move anyway, because it's a battle on Darkside's turn. They are going to play a few maneuvers to add to the Millennium Falcon's maneuver, which sounds like a setup for a all wings combo. We'll find out in a second. Darkside draws 9 total for its battle lesson. Enter the Bureaucrat and Stormtrooper Garrison. That certainly looks like a spam in chat. Sorry about that, guys. I don't really know how to get whatever. I don't know how to get rid of that. And then, yep, he does in fact use All Wings Report In and Darklighter Spin to substitute the Falcon's maneuver for his destiny. So he draws an 8 for that, and then actually draws it's a hit as a 3 for his battle destiny. So a total of 11 over here against 9, and then 13 damage to cover for Bill. So Bill's actually just going to lose Chewie because Chewie was forfeit 9. So that covers all of the attrition. Meanwhile, Bill does have to lose 2 characters to cover 11 attrition. And Bill did grab the Imperial Command as we expected him to do. And then Bill lost 2 more cards to cover some more battle damage, which was that it's a hit from the use pile, which seems fine, wasn't going to do much. And then I've got a really good feeling about this from Reserve Deck, which is a very useful utility card, but fine. Now Eric's going to draw some cards up. Notably, he drew 2, which means he can now not play an Imperial Command. So if Bill has found some backup here, he might be able to battle back into Eric here and do some real damage. Even if he can't, of course, he's still going to drain for 5. So, Eric just verifies with a Death Squadron assignment, which would actually suggest that the Vengeance is in hand. Because I would assume the Vengeance is the other Death Squadron Star Destroyer that he's playing. Not guaranteed, but possible. And now he starts draining on the ground, loses a Droid Detector from hand. And we got a drain of 2 at the Cantina. We'll see what Eric does about that. I was kind of assuming we were going to lose that Death Squadron assignment unless he was playing the Death Squadron assignment to try to find something, because he didn't have the Vengeance in hand. In which case the Vengeance is this last card, and that's really unfortunate. So he loses Surface Defense Fee from hand and Stormtrooper Garrison from reserve, and then we got a drain of 2 at Mustafar. So there's an Imperial Command and a Tarkin's Bounty from reserve. Quick update, I guess. Taco Bill is at 21 cards in Life Force. He's activated 15 with 6 in reserve. Eric, meanwhile, has 17 in Life Force. That's 15 in reserve, 1 in force, 1 in used. Eric's down 3 to 6 by cards in hand and down 6 minutes on clock, but still at 33, so plenty of time there. And then Eric loses 1 more card, the Min Kainu from hand to the Lebo Force Pang, which we were talking about. So the question now to me is whether we're going to see more battling happen. Rio Durant getting played to the Outrider certainly suggests that as a possibility. Taco Bell puts a card down from Rio to activate 2 more force. I would suggest that there's something more going to happen here. There's a Theron Net as a passenger on the Millennium Falcon because he is going to be forfeit a bunch. Forfeit 9. Yeah, 9. That's right. Chewie was actually forfeit 11 there because of Talon Card. So the hope is that Theron Net can actually just cover all of this battle damage, which is actually pretty reasonable. So we're going to see if the homing beacon bug is actually happening. because homing beacon is supposed to let your stars just move as a react to this location. The Executor is certainly in range at hyperspeed 7 to 8, so it should be able to cross the 1. Eric's clicked this response twice though, so yeah, it seems like that's probably not working. Um, that's unfortunate. That's not really. I mean, it's tough because there's really like there's really no way for Bill to get around this, right? Like, yeah, playing into a known bug is like not great, but what like is Bill just not going to initiate a battle or a force train anywhere where there's the homing beacon in in fear of triggering the bug? I don't think you can. They don't seem to know. I wonder if I can tell them. I probably can't because it's a league game, but yeah, it's a league game. All right, so let's go to. Um, sorry, I'm just gonna have to ping them real quick. So they are going to revert to try to make it happen again. However, I am I told Bill about the bug. Um, let me. I'm going to see if I can double check and see if that's still a thing that's happening. Get back to the lobby. Um, hmm. Yeah, as I look up in the bug stuff, there is still an active bug with homing beacon. I don't see anything that says it's been fixed. Now, at the same time, in the chat here, um, they are saying that Eric was not aware of that bug, which makes a lot of sense. Otherwise, you wouldn't put homing beacon in your deck in the first place. Taco Bell has a react canceler though, so uh, playing around this bug that he didn't know was a thing. So ultimately, I think this battle is just going to end up playing out the same way. So that's probably fine. Um, yeah. Bill is going to, or not Bill, excuse me, Eric is going to pull Admiral Ozzel off of Imperial Justice to limit both of them to one draw. That is very likely completely fine with Bill because Bill is going to play the All Wings combo again, if nothing else out of his lost pile, but maybe he has one in his hand to spin another 6 and then draw a Battle Destiny. I mean, at this point, I would expect that what Bill's going to just try to do here is just grind through the cards on Justice. There doesn't seem to be a lot of reason to do anything else. Because while he's drawing 2 Destinies against his opponent's 1, that's great. Yeah, he draws a few maneuvers as the other Destiny. So he's totaling 12. His opponent will draw 1, and Theranet will cover it, whatever it is. Or they'll just be immune to the 3, so it won't matter, and he won't even have to lose anything. He'll lose 1 force for the battle damage, which I'm sure he's completely willing to do. Eric now has to take 12 attrition, which is going to be a character. It's going to be either 2 characters or a character in the Chimera. Yeah, Bill loses the React Canceller from his hand that he doesn't need now. He knows that there's a bug there. Although losing it also puts it in a spot where he can just play it with the objective, so that's also fine. Okay. Yeah, he's going to lose the Chimera and then presumably a Wolf Ularen. would be my guess. Yeah, Wolfie Laren goes away. Stalker, Stalker's just gonna have to run away here. Like, you can't get into this battle now. Now that you're tied in power, and your opponent's gonna probably get to draw 2 Destinies to your 1, and yeah, that's just a disaster. So, but on the other hand, you also can't really leave this system alone where it's a train of 3. So yeah, Eric's in a pretty bad spot now. Bill's just going to draw some cards from his force pile. Probably leave behind 4 would be my guess. 6, all right, that's fine. Um, yeah, refill his hand a little bit, but leave enough force to be able to use his objective whenever he wants to. Um, he doesn't need to engage Eric at Tatooine. He can just lose 2 to the drain every turn because he's draining 5 back plus a ping from Lebo, plus the Stalker has to run away, so that'll be a drain of 6. He does remember to pull battle plan, so Eric doesn't get a free drain this time. Um, so yeah, this the Watch Your Step deck to me is actually really interesting aspect of the meta. Ooh, okay. So Darth Vader comes down. That's going to do a couple of things. So one thing is it's going to limit the drain it moves far. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is he's going to cancel Captain Lando's tech so Lando can't return to hand. Although Bill can just return him to hand right now, which is probably what he should do unless he has some sort of trick here to get out of this battle with Vader. He didn't do that, and then Vader also didn't cancel his tax. That's interesting. Okay. I would have canceled Lando's tax as my first action. Yeah, that was... okay. I think that was a mistake by Bill giving up that window, but then a mistake back by Eric not canceling Lando's text. So yes, if that text had not been canceled, if that text had been canceled, then it would have been incumbent on Eric to find it would have been incumbent on Bill to find some way to get out of that battle, which presumably Bill has. Um, Watch Your Step, as we said, is a deck that is full of tricks. So I would dare say it's extremely likely that there would be a trick in hand to save Lando in that position. At the same time, though, what you really wanted was to be able to take Lando into hand. And so the fact that he was able to do that after getting Eric to commit a force to the ground is pretty good. I mean, the force to the ground does mean that Eric's not going to be having to pay for battle plans, so that's good. But he didn't get a drain in that turn, so that's also good for Bill. He shuttled Piet down, played Oslo, moved the Stalker away, all as expected. So now it's gonna be a drain of 6 plus a Lebo ping. Eric's down to 19 between hand and life force, 5 in hand, 14 in life force, and Bill meanwhile is at 19 life force, 6 in hand, so he's up by a fair bit and then causing a lot of damage here. Now at the same time, Eric is causing a lot of damage back too, so that's not nothing. Now we did see Bill, though, at the end of the last turn there, play a couple of used interrupts. So he played Antilles Maneuver and All Wings Combo. The All Wings Combo took a Pulsar Skate into hand, so another ship, and then the Antilles Maneuver went to the bottom. So we know that these 2 cards that are left in Bill's reserve deck are both 5s. Now, of course, is he going to get to draw both those 5s? No, because there's still the cards in the Imperial Justice. But both of them being there does mean that he can battle into the Stalker, and Eric will effectively have to pull off Imperial Justice. He will not have the option to actually draw the 2 Destiny because he will just lose his whole ship if Bill gets to draw the total of 10. So okay, Bill did do his drains. He drained for 3 at Kessel, After Eric lost the 3, he tried to play Enter the Bureaucrat, which would prevent more than one loss from that force drain. However, and this is the reason I don't really like Enter the Bureaucrat against Watch Your Step, is Bill just plays a Control Tunnel Vision from hand to cancel Enter the Bureaucrat because it's immediate effect, and Control Tunnel Vision says cancel one immediate effect. Now it does go on the grabber, so that's, it's not cost free, but you can expect Watch Your Step to be playing. I wouldn't even be surprised if there were one or two more Control Tunnel Visions in Bill's deck. Um, so yeah, he's like, Watch Your Step is just definitely going to have Control Tunnel Vision. Uh, so there's just really no possibility that that Enter the Bureaucrat's really going to do anything. Okay, so we got Pulsar Skate and Kira from hand. Kira, another set 13 card. Um, and she's another card that is going to be a real kick in the teeth for Eric here, because Bill's completed a Kessel run, because she is going to cause an extra ping when we drain a Kessel. Now, I would presume, though, that one of these last 3 cards is not Wedge or Mirax, because if they were, I probably guess that all of this would have gone over to Kashyyyk to fight at Kashyyyk. Okay, now we're going to be ship docking, so we're going to be moving some people from the Millennium Falcon over to the Pulsar Skate. That makes sense because there's 4 characters in the Millennium Falcon, and you don't really need that, particularly when at least one of them is a reasonable pilot. And Kira is not. Kira's going to shift over to be a passenger on the Millennium Falcon, which is probably right. That's about where you'd expect her to be doing some good stuff. Talon Card shifted over to be pilot over here. Okay. So that means Theranet is down to being only forfeit 7. Still enough to cover the single battle destiny that Eric can allow him to draw here. So yeah, he's going to block this drain here, draw some cards up, replenish his hand a little bit. And yeah, he's presenting now 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage a turn on top of either getting a ping from Kira when he battles the Stalker, or getting a ping from Kira when he drains at Kashyyyk after he runs away. So Bill has a lot of damage potential here, and Eric just doesn't have very many cards left. He's down to 11 now after losing all that force from the previous turn, and he's only going to be doing 3 damage here, which is something, but not that much. Yeah, Bill just loses a Hujix. He's not expecting to need that, and even if he does, he can play it off of his objective. This is a Sabotage from hand. That's a cool one. Sabotage being an anti-weapon card. Interesting. Yeah, that's a cool one. Eric uses Admiral Piet to verify his deck, I guess. I guess his deck doesn't have another free verify, so that's reasonable. And actually, that's not true. It does. He could try to deploy a device from his reserve, but that's fine. So Tarkin's going to play here against Melis. I'm pretty sure the Chewie is still in loss. I don't think he actually retrieved the Chewie. If he has the Chewie to react here, that's really bad. But taking light side off the ground here is pretty good. So let's see. Okay, he also gets into a battle, so he can pull off a Justice and get the Arca into hand. Being able to deploy Arca to the Cantina would be good, although unfortunately we're just a little bit past the point where he's even going to be able to do that. He's just going to take too much damage on the ground now, because even without this, it's still going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, maybe 7, 8 here. It's Imperial Enforcement. Okay. That's pretty good. Bill draws a 4 for the Melis. Alright. So Tarkin will die, Melis will die. So Bill's paying for his drains now, and Eric's not paying for his, but Bill has enough force. He can certainly afford it, so. Oh, Vader moves into the Cantina to cause more damage. Sure, yeah, that makes sense. Piet's gotta follow. Okay, Bill plays another all-wings combo just to verify the deck, because there probably would not be any Starfighters left. This is immune 5. Yeah, Stalker's got to run away. Okay. Okay, and satisfying resistance now means that it's going to save 1 damage because the Kessel's only going to be a drain of 2 instead of 3. He still gets the ping from Lebo, and then although Kashyyyk is only a drain of 2, it still causes the ping from Kira, so that's still 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage against 11 total force available. Yeah. Bill doesn't really need to do much here. I mean, my guess would be just activate everything and then do your drains, move the Falcon over to Bespin to block that, and then just call it good. You don't really need to do anything else. Yeah, yeah. Eric loses the Erica from hand because he's not going to be able to play her. Like, I want to say the bug was impactful, but at the same time, since Bill had the React canceler, like it doesn't really matter because the React movement to the homing beacon was going to be canceled regardless. So yeah, that's kind of fine. No, Eric has a second enter the bureaucrat. Eric seemed well prepared for like watch your step, or not watch your step, excuse me, for Hitco, for he is the chosen one with the 2 enter the bureaucrats and stuff. Yeah, unfortunately though, Watch Your Step is really good in space, especially this newer version that runs more of like the Han Solo and the Chewie and all the other piloty stuff. Like basically seem to just want, like with Melis, right? Just want to be exactly enough on the ground to hold it and satisfy battle plan. Yeah, so he's playing Val to the ground here against no cards in hand for Eric, knowing that there's nothing that Eric can do to threaten this. He can move over, but then Val can run away, and also he only has 1 more turn of damage left anyway, because he only has 4 life force. So yeah, Eric's gonna concede to all that. All right. So good win for Bill. Seemed like a little bit of a tough matchup for Eric. I mean, the lateral damage mistake at the beginning certainly didn't help either, but to be honest, it didn't really seem like lateral damage was going to make too much difference in that game anyway, because Bill found the Alluresmatic so quickly, so there didn't really seem to be a lot of other option. I suppose there could have been like an Overwhelmed or something, but other than that. So let's back out of this game and see if there's anything else going on here for this heat. Second heat doesn't start for another hour